Well, anyway. All right, we're live. Oh dear, there are people. Hey, Blue Spark. Hey, Old Gray. How you doing? Hey, welcome back to ABTG, the only channel on the internet where we try to figure out whether something is absolute bullshit or true greatness. I am joined today by a good friend PJ. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. I'm happy to be here and talk about yet another Godzilla movie. Because this is the fourth film in the MonsterVerse. I don't know. Let's jump. I gotta do some tweets. I'll tweet this thing out. I'll tweet that we're live, and then we can jump right into this. Um,
Well, I'll just give
Boom.
my initial thoughts on
Go ahead. Go
the
ahead. Do the
film.
initial thoughts.
It's you, there's a lot of like words to describe this film, like absurd, silly, over the top, campy, dumb fun. Um, However, it is the most entertaining out of the four MonsterVerse films, in my opinion. I thought it was like a very quick 2 hours. I thought there was an adequate amount of fighting. On a technical level, it's just fascinating to watch. Especially, of course, we're going to get into full spoilers, right? Obviously,
Yeah. This is
yeah.
full spoilers. Okay, so I know that, for example, Robbie Will Great Tricky here, he hasn't seen any of the
Mm,
MonsterVerse films. I'm gonna be very honest. It doesn't fucking matter if anything is spoiled for you because
yeah.
nothing makes sense. But this is full spoilers for like all of the MonsterVerse films. So go ahead, just do it.
Well, just on a technical level, the fight in Hong Kong is just
You're talking about the neon fight or the
yeah.
daylight fight or both, like the whole thing.
The whole thing, but the way it starts, where Kong is like basically running away from Godzilla, and I love how Godzilla is not shortchanged. He's not in the movie that much as some people I think would want him to be because the focus is mainly on Kong. Uh,
Yeah, Kong is the protagonist in this.
yeah, but they actually give Kong some respect in the fact that he's clearly stronger than Kong. Like he can take him out. Of course, he had that kind of home front advantage on the water with the raft scene, but even when Kong leans off and hits him like hard, full on, Godzilla just recovers pretty quickly. And it's only when Mecha Godzilla comes into play that Godzilla is actually suffering because Mecha Godzilla is actually stronger. And the fact that Kong actually beats, Godzilla actually beats Kong, I really liked. And how when he has him down, he screams in his face like, "Stay down!" Like, don't mess with me anymore. And he walks away. And even when it's all said and done, when Kong saves Godzilla from Mecha Godzilla, before he walks into the sea, he looks at Godzilla again, and has that like dominant roar of, "I'm the mother effing king," right? Like
He's the king of the monsters.
he's the king of the monsters. So I've heard complaints like he doesn't get enough respect or enough screen time, but like they still he's still the heavyweight champion. You know what I mean? They didn't take that away from him. But Kong also gets his respect, and he gets to go home to the very very absurd Hollow
Hollow Earth.
Earth, because you look at the Kong films. It's like the Kong Skull Island and this film are very much sci-fi fantasy, and Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters are trying to be more realistic. Like the
Yeah,
technology in
we
those
have to
movies is
talk
more
about that.
realistic.
The tonal shift. There's like a
Oh
complete
yeah,
tonal shift
mm,
in this one. And like Kong is its own thing too. Skull Island, that's my
yeah.
favorite, just because I find it has the most personality. Um, all of the others are pretty much equal, like in my opinion. I do think I my favorite of these Kong films, of these Godzilla films, is the first one. Even if I get real pissed off that they kill off Bryan Cranston pretty early, but
Yeah.
and then it just becomes like generic Soldier Man. This is better than King of the Monsters, Godzilla versus
Oh
Kong.
yeah.
And I can see why it's people's favorite because this is the first MonsterVerse movie where they give up on trying to, I suppose, do anything else than just monster fights. Like every single character that's in this movie that's a human, and every single plot point, they only serve the sole function of getting monsters to fight each other. Like that's it. There's no other, like, even logic is thrown out the window. Like they have this garbage ass excuse of like maybe Kong will be able to find his way back into Hollow Earth because, you know, when salmon breed, it's in their DNA. They can find their way back upstream. It's like, all right, he just finding a reason for Kong to fight Godzilla. It's a stupid movie on every level. But
The
yeah,
humans the humans are just tools for the monsters to
yeah,
get together.
truly.
Yeah.
Millie Bobby Brown, I don't think is very useful. Like no one is useful.
Her, the conspiracy theorist guy, and the kid, the
Hunt for the Wilder People.
yeah, that guy. I keep forgetting his name. He has one funny line when he says, "We had an assembly about this." I was like, there's his accent, because you hear that's the first time he really speaks, and you're like, oh, he never does an American accent. He always does.
No.
Like they hire him for his accent and his look, I think, because he's getting popular now, and he's always cool to see in movies and stuff. But Millie Bobby Brown is a really good actor from Stranger Things, but in this and in the previous film,
Well, they don't give her anything.
Yeah, it's just like she's just. And the whole thing about pouring the coffee on the machine to stop Mechagodzilla is so stupid. But you don't care because all I'm interested in is like the battle, the wrestling match at the end, right? And
okay, so
some of that absurd stuff pisses people off, and it ruins the movie for them. And I completely understand that, how it didn't try to be as realistic as possible. Like, yes, you have the helicopters lifting Kong up, which you can believe. But you get those anti-gravity ships going into the hollow earth, and you
yeah, see that's.
But when Godzilla drills the hole down, how the hell did Kong climb up all that way? It makes no sense. Oh, it's so stupid.
Okay,
but it's good. I love it. I can't.
Let's talk about. We got to talk about this tonal shift first, because the Kong is its own thing. But Kong is kind of realistic. But it has like a 70s, or yeah, it's got a 70s vibe to it, right? It's got like a Full Metal Jacket kind of aspect.
You're talking about Skull Island, yes.
Skull Island, yeah.
Yes, that's set in the 70s, yeah.
There is, I guess, kind of a bit of a fantasy aspect to it, but it's not full blown fantasy. It's just because we're on this like undiscovered island that we've never seen before, and so there are like mythological creatures, and there's like prehistoric creatures, you know, walking around, that kind of stuff. And then you get like the very grounded, the very real world, or at least attempting to be grounded, especially the first Godzilla, like 2014 one, and then King of the Monsters as well, where like all of these monsters, they try really hard to give these like scientific explanations to how they exist, why they're doing what they're doing. You know, they try to explain where it is they're going. What they're attempting to do and how Godzilla can stop them. But then, of course, Godzilla has like a nuclear beam that apparently doesn't nuke anyone. It's a beam. But you know, they try to make it all very serious. And the tech that we have in those movies, even though Monarch, you understand, is like Monarch is this organization that has advanced tech. They don't have spaceships, right? They don't go through wormholes and shit in space. They have advanced helicopters and advanced planes, that kind of stuff. But when you get to this movie, and this isn't 25 years later. This is 2020. This is supposed to happen like the 6 or 7 years after the initial
like
Kong
400 years in the
appearance.
future, all of a sudden.
Yeah, all of a sudden it becomes fucking altered carbon, right? Everything is like cyberpunk. There's neon cities. All of the tech that Monarch and Apex have, like everything's like neon tubing. They have spaceships that can go through like bubbles into the center of the earth. And I know Hollow Earth was kind of set up, but now it's just like this full-blown fantasy thing with flying space rocks. And the one thing that really like and it's really bizarre that I was kind of buying into this. I was like, okay, fine, they have spaceships, whatever. And then you get to the point where King Kong wields Thor's axe. You know, it starts lighting up. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Like, it's very bizarre how they decided to take this thing so far into like the fantasy, like not nonsensical aspect of it. I'm very puzzled by that.
I didn't mind it. I just, you know, it embraces the old school films. You look at those old Toho films, which they played. I first saw them when I was a little kid. Well, not a little kid. I was like, you know, an adolescent. But when Godzilla 1998 came out, there was a big resurgence of those films on TV, and Showcase and Bravo, I think, used to play like them in just succession. They did that with the Planet of the Apes movies as well, all the old ones. It was a really good station. It was a Canadian station that is still happening, but now they are Batwoman and all this CW stuff, but in Canada. But yeah, you look at those old films and you watch this, and yes, it doesn't feel connected to Godzilla and Godzilla, even though like it technically is. They go through that whole thing at the beginning of this film where it shows you the scorecard basically of how many
Yeah, they just
how many
invent a
monsters they
scorecard.
killed, right? But that's all.
They don't show
That's
you
an,
Kong's side because we haven't seen Kong defeat anyone apart from the what is it, the
I
Skull
don't know. Maybe
Crushers?
I think he has. I think they show some of his stuff, and then
Okay.
they have the graphic come in where it's like just two of them left, and it's like time to battle it out. But did you expect Mechagodzilla in this film?
Yes, I think we saw him in a trailer.
Okay, yeah, I think
Um,
that was kind of
I
spoiled for a
think
lot of
I
people too.
think there
Yeah.
was like, but I don't think they did that on purpose necessarily. Like it's just like I'm assuming that the MonsterVerse don't have like the kind of budget where they can like CG out a Hulk from a trailer. So they kind of try and hide him with their footage. But yeah, I was expect what I wasn't expecting was that it's basically King Ghidorah that's controlling Mechagodzilla. Because they okay,
His
it,
spirit.
it, in the end of King of the Monsters, there's like a post credit scene where Tywin Lannister, whatever his name is, the actor, he has the head he's kept one of the heads
Yeah.
from King Ghidorah, right? And so that comes back in this movie. He doesn't, but his character doesn't. But Apex has acquired this head, or they have a skull, and they've basically hooked up Mechagodzilla into that with the dude that's controlling it with his VR set. I wasn't expecting any of you've been
That
muted.
makes
Yeah,
no
I wasn't.
sense. Yeah.
Well,
But
yeah,
it's silly. It's like it's like it's the spirit. Okay, the
I get that
skull
because
is somehow
Ghidorah's an
the
alien,
but the
right?
skull is
He's
somehow a telepathic vessel for the dude who's hooked up to it. But at the end,
mm,
it the spirit is like, no, I'm taking over, and the actual spirit of the monster of the dead monster that Godzilla killed is getting his revenge in the form of Mechagodzilla, even
mm,
doing the same move with the mouth about the
mm.
breathe down. Yeah, that happened. But it's crazy. It's so fun though. It's like, what can you expect from a movie where a giant primate fights a giant reptile? You know what I mean? It's just
So yeah, if you start, the thing is with this film is if you start really poking holes into it, you like there's no end. Because if you're like, oh well, why is it a skull? Like why is it not a brain? Or why is it not something that isn't like a skull? There's no tissue left in it. It should be something with tissue. And then
yeah.
the other thing is like once Ghidorah takes control of Mechagodzilla, why does Ghidorah know how to use all of the different missiles and all of the different tech that's on Mechagodzilla, right? Like it's just a beast, just an alien. But anyway, like if you start poking holes in
Oh,
this shit, nothing
I know the
works.
answer to that.
Oh, you do?
I know the very silly answer to that. Uh, the
He
substance,
read the guy's mind.
the sample that they got from Hollow Earth, which got like the blue glowy stuff in it,
Mm,
that they used to ultimately power Mechagodzilla.
mm.
It imbued it with a spirit of the Ghidorah or whatever, right? So it has like a hollow like spirit, and then you got the other one coming into that, and the spirits merge. There you go.
Perfect, flawless.
And then the dead kaiju knows how to use the missiles because like the mechanical spirit is all like up to date. But yeah, I love how the villain dies. By the way, he's such a typical like fucking. As soon as you look at him and as soon as he speaks, you're like, oh god,
Yeah,
he's the villain.
this is the
It's
bad guy.
like
Yeah.
when he goes to Skarsgård and he's like, go to Hollow Earth and get the sample and all this. I was at the beginning. I was like, really? They're gonna do that? What, Hollow Earth? I didn't know. I didn't know anything about it. Like it was gonna be in the movie. Right? I had no idea. I only
Mm.
knew about Mechagodzilla because there was stuff about like a toy of Mechagodzilla coming out for the film.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes toys aren't a true representation, so nobody was really sure. But then obviously it was spoiled on the internet through just people and ads and stuff. But yeah, uh, Mechagodzilla is this thing that just shows up at the end. I understand why Apex wants to build it. They want something to protect from something like Godzilla. They want something stronger than Godzilla. But the whole thing about the Hollow Earth and like, how does he know if you get a sample from some shit down there that it's gonna work in the thing? And like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand.
Well, they pushed the
There's a
Hollow Earth
sciencey guy
theory
that
real
explains some
far
stuff, but yeah, sorry.
because, like, in those original Godzilla movies, and I don't think they address Hollow Earth and Kong, do they? Like in Skull Island. But in those two first Godzilla movies, they talk about Hollow Earth, but basically they just use it as an excuse to justify why Godzilla can be basically anywhere at any time. It's like he travels the world really fast, and I think in the second one he goes down there to like he retreats to like some cavern uh, in what seems to be some remote part of Hollow Earth where he's like recuperating or something. He's regenerating or regaining his strength. But this time they went full friggin' Ice Age, right? There's like an entire other. It's such a common trope now because Aquaman did it too, where there's like a full other world beneath the ocean, with like clouds and shit. This is Journey to the Center of the Earth, right?
Yeah, we're becoming more accustomed now, I think, to like very far fetched things in movies. Like you go look at what Marvel has done to the movie industry in terms of just what we accept is just people will claim that Marvel movies are realistic. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? For one thing, they
Yes.
exist in a universe. A lot of movies do this thing now where technology is 50 or 70 years in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They always have this stuff.
Like there was
That,
a conspiracy theorist at my job that said that all of these Marvel movies, like he's convinced that like the tech that you see Stark use and like all of these things, he's convinced that that's not like invented tech. He's convinced that that's tech that like the governments have. It's just that like the public isn't aware of it, right? And
okay.
he's convinced that the people in the movie industry are trying to share the secrets out to the world, right? So people are insane, but
Mm.
no, we we don't have Iron Man suits. We have very good cosplay.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to a point where like robotics and mechanical armor is a thing. I mean, it's only a matter of time before we really get there. I mean, they're already testing that stuff out now, but I mean,
Yeah, you want the aliens uh
we,
suit Sigourney Weaver has.
yeah, get away from her, you bitch.
All right. Okay, we had Kong is the protagonist of this movie. And I don't. I was sitting there because they kind of justify that they're trying to help him,
Yeah,
and at no point are they trying to help him. And it was very confusing to me why even the Guardian, like even there's the lady that is the guardian of Kong or like Kong's environment or some shit.
yeah,
And even her, she's trying to tell the little girl that can communicate with Kong. She's like, tell him that we're doing this to help him. I was like, you're not. You need him to help you because you're being attacked by Godzilla, or at least you guys think that Godzilla's turned on Earth or something, and he hasn't. He's just attacking, uh, basically
the
Mechagodzilla or like the power source, whatever it is, because that's the thing
yeah.
that puts it in all the motion.
It's almost as if Godzilla senses that his old dead enemy is active somehow, and that's why he attacks the facility because
Yeah,
he sent. I don't know the reason why Godzilla senses certain things, and like if there's a Titan around, like how far away does it have to be for him to notice it, and like.
Did he kill Mothra, or did he? It was Mothra now
I
hibernating
lost track
somewhere.
of who he kills in both Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters. So like, I think the skull
Ronan's
from this
dead.
movie is the guy from the first movie, where he does
No,
that, where he opens his mouth and breathes into him.
no,
Is
no,
that
no.
the?
This skull is from King Ghidorah, the thing with three heads in
Oh,
King of the
okay. So it's one of the
Monsters.
heads. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the heads. But that King Ghidorah is not from Earth. That's a thing that's from like Saturn or Jupiter or some shit.
Hmm.
That's a monster that comes from another planet in our solar system that came to Earth.
Okay. Yeah.
And so yeah, he fucked him up. With somehow. But I like Mothra's maybe hibernating at this point. And so, but yeah, it's bizarre. I don't know where they go from this though. Like I don't know where the MonsterVerse goes. Like because they only have two characters as it stands. They're trying to form like some sort of Avengers team, a Justice League of Monsters. But
Well, I
they've
think
already done
if
the
they're gonna go
biggest enemy.
forward, they're gonna have Kong and Godzilla be the tag team this time.
Yeah,
That's the next logical step. I mean, I don't know
yeah,
where
they
else they're
team
gonna
up
go, right?
against something.
And they're like, "Hey, we destroyed like half of Asia. Let's well, they destroy Hong Kong, don't they? They
But Hong
destroy
Kong's fucked.
the entire city, which is like it's one of these movies where you see the people on the ground running, and you don't really see people dying. You just see them running, right?
Yeah.
And you just don't give a fuck. It's like I don't
But
care.
entire buildings are collapsing, right?
Like
Like the death
Kong gets
toll on
up.
these movies.
Kong is down on the ground and he gets up and he uses one of the buildings for support and he destroys like 7 floors. I'm like, there could have been people in there.
Probably was.
It's like not everybody has the time to escape in time, but I mean, how long was Kong climbing up the earth? Because that's a long way to go. And did he go like somebody pointed out today, I think on a video I watched, how did he get through the portal again? Did he do all that trippy shit going up? Because, he did all that trippy
Probably.
crap going down, right? So it's like they just cut from Godzilla screaming down at him and him hearing it to, oh, Kong's up there all of a sudden. It's like that would have been like days, dude. I don't care how big Kong is. That would have actually taken a good long time for him to do that.
So what did you think of the visual effects in this thing? Do you think they were good? It was very obviously CG, right? Like
Well, yeah, in a
there
sense.
are so many scenes where it's like the sunset, the boat, Kong on it. Like you look at it and you're like, all of that is fake. The water's fake. I can see the water simulation, like the droplets. The boats are fake. There's even a moment where there's two characters that come. They're wearing suits like hazmat suits. They come and they put down a certain object. I'm like, even those humans are fake. They've CG'd the humans because in the scene they put down an object that then deploys or whatever. It's like a technological thing that deploys, and then Kong enters the scene. So I'm like, no, they didn't. They didn't even film any of that. They didn't need to capture a single human. They just CG'd the hazmat suits because you don't even see their faces.
Well, it's better than a big guy in a costume in King Kong Lives or the 1977 King Kong. But yeah, it's. I mean, the 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 biggest challenge in CG sometimes is creating things with great mass because
Mm,
you have the weight issue and how that moves and everything's kind of got to be like slower and like it seems more like kind of animated and kind of jiggly and smooth, right? But then you
mm,
have all these particles like the water and especially I think the effects get progressively better. I think they work on the later stuff much more. However, given the fact that they have to deal with water and a giant lizard and a giant ape and all of these things in like completely CG shots constantly, like you know what I mean? Like there's often times you're watching this movie and it's all you
all of
can't
it.
imagine that any of it's practical because of the technical elements involved, right?
Yeah. Like the only time something practical is like when they cut to like a close up shot of two characters speaking.
Even the characters in the when they're on the ship on the barge or whatever
Mm.
on the aircraft carrier. None of that is like they're all just on green screen sets. Like no, they're never
Yeah.
outside. When they're in the room looking out the window, they're not looking out. No, everything's a green screen in this movie. Whenever, but given that there's so much of it, and people complain that there's not like a lot. I mean, Jesus Christ, Kong gets a lot of screen time. He's like, that's a lot of animation
I think
to
Kong
do
is
in a
like the
movie.
most seen character in
Yeah,
the entire movie, like more
it's
than any of the humans.
it's almost like an animated movie featuring live action elements.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's a big ass cartoon.
Yeah, and it's and
Um,
in that way, I understand we're not at the point in technology where Godzilla and Kong can look 100% real,
mm.
but it's damn good for the time, and you can see the progression of visual effects to the point where
Will there be a time though when our brains, because like your brain, I think subconsciously knows that an ape that size is not real, and your brain also knows that Godzilla isn't real. The same way we know that Thanos isn't real, right? So
yeah,
will there be a time like like even if you make it as realistic as possible, a big man with like a wrinkly purple chin, like you know that he's not like your mind is going to tell you that it's fake. And the
th-
same thing goes for like Godzilla, right? With the big glowy blue things.
it's always hit and miss though, isn't it? Sometimes you'll see shots and you're like, damn, that looks 100% photorealistic, and then you see something that looks a little glossy and a little like kind of like a painting almost. But
Mm,
a great example of if you go back and watch the Planet of the Apes movies, the more recent ones,
yeah.
Caesar looks not good in the first movie. Just being brutally honest, he doesn't look great. Uh, it's an advancement. Andy Serkis, does great performance capture. Then you get Dinadon. He looks much better, but still, you're like, I can when you're watching it in the 4K, especially on a big, you can see, or in the theater, you can see it really like. Sometimes it looks really, really real, and sometimes it's like, oh wait, I can kind of see the CG. Then you get into the third one, War, and that has the most believable CG in almost any movie you watch. Some shots you'll see where it's like, I can see the CG-ness in Caesar, but some of the other apes, like that silly ape with the big ears, he looks real throughout the entire movie. Like there's not one shot with that character where I'm like, holy shit, that doesn't. It looks like a real ape talking, and
Well,
it's
I remember
freaky.
being
And
blown away by
I
that
love
one.
yeah, I love when they get to that kind of technical achievement in films with CG, where it actually does your brain does switch over and your brain does say, I'm forgetting that it's CG.
Mm.
That's the point. And
Well,
obviously in this movie, everything's you're just like
for
I'm
me, it's
marveled
a
at the
point of
technical achievement of the CG rather than
yes,
the fact that it
yeah.
not
Because
100% realistic.
for me, the point I'm looking for, I guess, for the moment is when my brain asks me, like when I'm asking
Yeah.
myself, like, is that CG or is it real? I can't tell. You know what I mean? And this is a completely random example, but when I first watched Forrest Gump and dude loses his leg,
Yeah.
my brain was like, did he? What is this? Does this actor have one leg? I don't understand. And I'm like, but no, the actor has two legs. How did they accomplish this? And so that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. This movie, however, no. Godzilla versus Kong, the whole thing is just fake as fuck. It looks fake, but as you say, it's the amount of visual effects in every single second of this movie is just insane.
And you got to give credit to the mechanics of the visual effects and the way Godzilla and Kong move. Like they move in a way that's very believable. And when they're fighting and when Kong's kind of like running through the city away from Godzilla and just like destroying blocks and blocks and blocks, you can even slow that down and see just the detail in every frame. Like I can't imagine how long it takes to render that shit. You know what I mean? It's just like, but yeah, they will get progressively better. The reason I think King of the Monsters hid everything in fog and rain and everything is a
Mm.
common technique they use to hide
Yeah.
CG in an attempt to make it look more realistic under like a haze of something. But yeah, they did that in one of the reasons the director
Well,
of
that was the old school technique. Like in the 2000s, when CG was shit, everything happened in night, rain, fog.
the actors on the 1998 Godzilla. I think it was Roland Emmerich who directed it. But anyway, they talk about how it was a brutal shoot because it had to be raining all the time, so the actors were always soaking wet, and
Oh yeah, Hank
you get
Azaria
really
talks
sick
about that.
doing that, right?
Mm.
And the director was like, "No, it has to be this way because it's gonna make the CG. It's gonna sell the CG because once if we put them in dark and we put the rain elements in, it looks more photorealistic." And at the time, that worked for it, but you look at it now, and it's like, wow,
Well, King of the
it's really
Monsters
old
is
looking.
clearly the worst of the four MonsterVerse films currently. It's the one I like the least. Um, and it's the ugliest to watch, and like all of the fights are very disappointing in that. Blue Sparks asking about is that what they call the uncanny valley? The uncanny valley is from what I
The
understand the
uncanny
uncanny valley
it's when it doesn't look right. It's when
when your
something
brain
when you're
understands that
not
something isn't
tricked.
quite right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like Tarkin in Rogue One. Is
yeah.
it no, not
There's like
Tarkin, not Tarkin. Moth.
yeah, it's Grand
Uh,
Moff Tarkin, and then
Grand. Is it? Yeah, I think.
it's basically when they try to recreate like something photorealistic, but there's maybe like a spark missing in the eyes, or the skin is too smooth, something that you can't quite pinpoint, but your brain will automatically tell you like this character is false or this background isn't real. Um,
It's like
I
young Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall in Coming to America 2. They do a 1980s flashback and they have CG face
I thought that
replacement.
wasn't too bad in Coming to America too. I thought that wasn't too bad. They handled that pretty well, a lot better than Pirates did with Jack Sparrow in Pirates 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it wasn't too
Marvel is really revolutionizing kind of like how they change people's faces with CG in different ways, old and young. But yeah, we're getting there. We're
I'm
getting
pretty
to a
sure
point.
that de-aging, like the fact that they've had to work on turning Mark Ruffalo's face in, like blending it into being the Hulk over all of these years, I think that must have helped them as well with their de-aging process, because it's really like now the Hulk model really looks like Mark Ruffalo.
Did you see in Gemini Man, Will Smith is fighting his younger self, and it's actually it's a fully CG head
I've never
of
seen that.
young Will Smith. It's like it's I think it's the first fully CG human character in terms of like the head, like the whole
Okay.
head replacement. I think it's actual younger guy being the body, but some of that looks really cool and real. Like it actually seems like a real human person.
Okay.
But then you get little moments where you get that spark of the uncanny valley, and you're like, "That's a CG Will Smith," and it's like this CG character has to show emotion and cry and do all this stuff, right? And Will Smith is doing the mocap for it, but then it's a completely CG replacement. It's not de aging
Yeah.
at all. It's like in a whole different thing. It's not what Marvel does. Marvel does a combination of CG face and de aging, and like for example, when they aged up Steve Rogers, he already had old age makeup on set, and then they intensified it with CG, right? But yeah, we're gonna get to a point where it's gonna look. Well, you know what they need to do? They need to sneak a CG character into a movie,
Yeah.
just like in a romantic comedy or something, like as a supporting character who's like the best friend or something.
A
Something
full
that no,
CG character. You know, one of
like
those, that terrible cliche gay character that's in all of those romantic comedy movies.
oh no, don't do that.
Have him fully CG.
Well, yeah, do somebody and don't tell anybody, and just do it as as a psychological test to
See
see
if
if
anyone
anybody
notices,
notices,
picks up on it.
and have it be based on obviously have it be based on a real actor, but actually have the actor do the whole performance in mocap, and then replace the actual actor with the CG. It would probably work better that way because it would match more. I guess I don't know. Anyway, I digress.
Yes. Yeah. No. There's no CG humans in this movie. There's just CG
Yeah,
monsters.
well, yeah,
Well,
probably
there's two
little
CG
CG
humans
humans.
when they're carrying their. Oh yeah, probably everyone running. That's all probably just visual effect. Magic. No, they've got
Yeah,
probably got
the
no one
really
running on
wide
set.
shots. Yeah, you know what I was looking for the second time I watched it. Like I was actually looking for like, is there any little people on the ground there? Like you know what I
Dying.
mean? And you can't see anything, even when Kong like destroys that building. I'm like, I can't see anybody falling out or anything. So I don't know. They
Well,
really avoid
your
that.
attention and your focus is on King Kong, right?
Well, the movie is
And
rated.
Godzilla.
They can't really show a lot of that stuff because the movie is rated seven plus in Canada.
Oh, okay.
I think it's probably rated R in the States because they're so sensitive about everything.
So this movie doesn't. Okay, so I find that the two Godzilla films don't have much personality. I understand that they like the first one especially. I think is like a favorite among Godzilla fans. Like they really like what that movie did. It brought the realistic looking Godzilla to cinema. Um, and it tries to be grounded with the real world technology, et cetera, et cetera. But I find it very generic, like very bland in terms of just film, in terms of plot, and like what it's trying to accomplish. And then, so King of the Monsters is the same thing. It's just basically Godzilla again, but with bigger monsters. Whereas Kong Skull Island, in my opinion, has more of a personality because it's really trying to do that 70s vibe. Um, it's got the music. It's got those kind of, I don't know. I think the characters are more endearing or engaging.
I don't
And
like Brie Larson or Tom Hiddleston. I think is in the movie,
yeah,
or
Tom
just some
Hiddleston is in
British
it.
guy I don't like in it. I think it's Tom Hiddleston. I like Samuel L. Jackson and I like Kong, and that was it. And I
Yeah,
like the
no,
'70s
there's
vibe, but
what's his name?
oh, uh,
Will Ferrell's friend, John C. Riley.
John C. Riley.
He's
Yeah,
great
that
in
part is
that.
kind of funny, but I think this is the only one where I wasn't irritated watching it. I remember
By the
watching
humans or just irritated in general? I was kind of bored, but this is
bored.
my
Yeah,
problem.
is a better
This is
word.
my problem with the Godzilla movies. Like, and I'm gonna say these three Godzilla movies and one Kong. The Kong movie is the one that I was the least bored watching, and it's because there was this kind of hint of adventure, this hint of, I don't know, like we're going on an adventure. You know, you're going into that island, whereas this is just straight up. We're gonna just do fights, and at least there were visual kind of choices made that kind of like made all of that better to watch because you have the fight in the water, then you have the fight with the neon Hong Kong, there's the fight during the day. At least that all looked a little better than just King of the Monsters, where it's just all of it is bland grayish blue shit on screen.
The true test of a good movie for me is do I check the time? And I
Oh,
recently watched Godzilla. I didn't watch Skull Island again because I saw that a couple of times.
you mean where you're at in the movie, you mean, or just
What do you mean?
looking at, you mean
No, I was
looking at the
just
time or looking where it is that you are in the movie?
no. When I'm watching like the original Godzilla, like recently, I think I checked the time 3 times in the first hour because I remember I'm like it's an hour in and Bryan Cranston isn't dead yet. I thought he I originally because the last time I saw it was 2014. I never watched it again. So for some reason I thought he died in like the first 15 minutes, but that's actually his wife. His wife dies in the first 15
Yes.
minutes, and then he becomes a crazy person, and his son grows up, who is Aaron Taylor Johnson, and then he dies later. The whole thing later on, but yeah,
Aaron
isn't
Taylor
he?
Johnson is not a bad actor, but in that movie, he's just the most
He's dreadful in
bland,
that movie. He's dreadful.
generic, boring character. It's like we're gonna take the white guy, soldier, you know what I mean, and like he can do everything and do anything. He has access to anything and anyone, and he's just always there at the right moment, doing the right thing.
And
It's
he's got
just
all
like,
the personality of a bag of fucking potatoes.
yeah, exactly, right.
And his wife is not like Elizabeth Olsen, who's great in anything else. She's dull as hell in this one.
Well,
And
the whole
you get to
movie
King of
is
the Monsters with the with
beige.
Millie Bobby Brown and her mother with the sonic things and controlling the monsters, and the mother messes up and causes all this stuff. It's like I don't care. And like Kyle Chandler in both King of the
Why was
Monsters
he in
and
this
this
one?
one, his face is always like he's got like a distressed or messed up or like really
Yeah,
worried look on his face
he
all the
knows how
time.
to.
It's like I'm sick of
That's
looking at this guy.
the environmental disaster, movie face. Like every time there's like a tornado or a volcano erupting or like some sort of meteorological thing, yeah, that's it. You gotta have that face. It's that face of, oh my god, but I need to put my kid in the car and we're gonna drive away from the city. we're going to be the only car that's going to escape from the city, right?
I understand why his character's emotional in the first one. His son dies or whatever, and then he's. But in this one, it's like, when you first meet him, he's all like worried, and his daughter's like, "Dad, Dad," and it's like, okay, this stuff. They don't linger on it. That's what I like about this movie. They have these stupid little, like the conspiracy theory guy, who's like somebody. I don't get credit for pointing this out, but somebody said today, I think it was that like pitch meeting video, where it's the dude or some other thing I was watching, because I was watching a few reviews of this, and the dude's doing a podcast about how he's ratting on this company, like out in the open, and then he works for the company, and then he so easily can just irritate this dude to go away from his desk and get this valuable information. It's like, what is this place really? Because Apex is just like a really dumb excuse to have Mechagodzilla, and it works because they don't linger on that stuff. Like they play it for. Like, they don't take the human
whole
characters as seriously as the previous movies.
Yeah, exactly. Like the characters are either they're either there for comedy, and that's Hunt for the Wilder People kid or Deadpool 2 kid, however you want to call him. Him and conspiracy theory guy, they're both there just for comedy, and then the other characters are there for plot reasons. It's like, we need a child who can talk to Kong. We need someone that'll give you a reason to bring Kong next to Godzilla.
I thought it was really stupid that they had to make it a point in the plot to have him learning sign language be a secret. Why couldn't they have just been teaching him that, and then the woman and anybody?
Yeah,
could
and
just
everyone's
talk
surprised. Everyone's surprised about, like, everyone's like, oh my god, he can speak.
That kind of irritated me.
We have so many apes out there today that speak sign language.
The first thing you would do with a giant ape like that is try and teach him, because like, what an advantage would that be to actually talk to a Titan?
But, yeah. When did they build the huge Truman Show dome though? Like,
sometime in the past 40 years.
This movie opens. So Wife on the Tube has seen none of the others. She watched just this one. She's like, I don't know, like, when did all of this happen? Did I miss a lot of the movies? I'm like, well, you missed 3 movies, but none of that happened in any of the other movies. Like, Alexander Skarsgård's brother died, not in another movie. The dome was built not in another movie. They got to the top. Each one got to the top of their like food champion ring or whatever it is.
Yeah. Not
really in other movies. Like, nothing happened. All of this happened off screen.
Well, this movie seems more like a sequel to Skull Island than the Godzilla movies. The Godzilla movies are 2014 and 2018 respectively. They're like in the modern era, right? Then you get Kong, and the gap between Skull Island and this movie is like 40-something years or whatever, however many years it is, 35 to 40 years. And so there was a lot of stuff they did with Kong over the decades. So like, when was this thing built? I think they say in the movie it was built because something happened where a perpetual storm kept sweeping the island for some reason, and which wiped out the natives. I don't know how long ago that was. It couldn't have been no longer.
Not too long, because she's pretty young.
A little girl, so like maybe 10 years, maybe, or something like that. So I think that dome has been around for about 10 years. So.
Thank you, Ruben.
However old the little girl is, the dome has been around, say.
Yeah, at least.
Because that woman adopted her at the time. Presumably, they lived the whole time on Skull Island while this thing was being built. Like, they had their own facility.
The movie doesn't get bogged down in those kind of details, though. It's like, this King Kong...
You can easily fill in the blanks, because they have throwaway lines that you say, okay, this is the reason why he has to be kept away. Another reason he had to be kept away is because Godzilla.
Godzilla would have came for him, right? Godzilla would have fucked him up, because
so this shelter
there has
is
to be
like
one alpha.
It's like a smell guard or something. I don't know.
But
Kong knows he's in there. Like, he's been aware. It seems like he's been aware. He's not fully aware that he's not in his real environment.
He's much more intelligent than what we think. He doesn't really. He's just like, yeah, whatever. I don't give a shit.
And the little girl is a good character because it gives the excuse of why he doesn't mess everybody up all the time. Because
She's the only character. She's the only character that I actually was interested in. Like, well, her and Kong, to be honest.
Her and Kong are very central characters to the plot, and it's kind of unfortunate that in the story she's kind of just being used just like Kong is being used, and they don't give enough credit to like the fact that they're essential to saving the goddamn world, basically, or like, or at least stopping Godzilla from wreaking havoc. But yeah, but they kill millions of people anyway and destroy an entire city. At least it wasn't more cities, I guess. But they need
Yeah,
to
at
go.
least it was just one city.
Wouldn't it be? Wouldn't it be funny if like you had a big fight in like Toronto or something, and like the CN somebody picks up the CN Tower and like
Throws it at someone
yeah,
like a spear. Yeah, well, at some point they're gonna have to start going to like Toronto and shit because like they just like
they're gonna run out of cities.
if right. Okay, so technically this doesn't. If they keep on doing their movies, if the movies keep on taking place at this like the same year as they are released, because 24 like Godzilla 2014 happens in 2014, this movie happens in 2020. That means that if the next movie that comes out is like say 2023 maybe or 2024, they would have rebuilt Hong Kong. Hong Kong would still be a shit like a dump. Like maybe there'd be less rubble, but it wouldn't be rebuilt. So they're gonna have to fight somewhere else. They're gonna have to have them fight in fucking London or something. But if every movie keeps destroying a big city, like they have to go like Rio de Janeiro so they can like pick up Jesus and throw him at someone or something.
Oh God, that would cause a lot of that would cause a lot of controversy.
We'll have them fight over the White House. They can pick up that what's it called, the obelisk? You know. Anyway, there's not enough cities at some point.
You know, in this movie, characters have to be efficiently dumb at the right time for in order for the story to go forward, and like somehow absolute genius, like when they need to be like, oh wait, we can't figure out like the password to shut down Mechagodzilla. Oh no, time's ticking. Oh, it's devastating. What do we do? Psh, just pour water over the stuff, and that somehow that's such an old trope that is not real. Like you can't, a security system doesn't work that way. Like if you have something that's encrypted, like if the power goes out, it doesn't like just, you know what I mean? It doesn't resolve itself. I don't know.
Turn the password off. Just unplug the computer.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's
It'll
like,
work.
I can't hack into this computer. I'll just pour some water on it and it'll solve everything. I get that stuff, but like, goddamn. I didn't care too much for Mechagodzilla, to be honest. Like, I didn't care that they were in the movie. I was only worried about the ape and lizard fight.
Yeah,
And I knew
I
it was
agree.
coming. I just didn't know to what extent. But I like the fact that Mechagodzilla like kicks Godzilla's ass, and he does that first punch, and it sends Godzilla like flying, and Godzilla looks back and like kind of screams in anger and pain. There's something about the way they animate the personalities and the looks that they give each other. Like there's a really cool part where Godzilla heats up the axe for Kong, and he starts chopping away at Mechagodzilla.
Mm.
Those are cool, like old school. If you liked wrestling, I liked wrestling when I was a kid. Those are like the moments, the big moves. You're like, oh, it's like it's really selling you on the fight.
Okay, I'm gonna say something that might be controversial, but I find that the fights are getting more and more boring, and I think that's why they added the axe. It's because there comes a point where Godzilla doesn't have too many moves. You know what I mean? Like they gave him an upgrade, and so now he becomes blue and everything. But it's like Godzilla can't fly, right? He can't like pick you up and throw you somewhere. Like, and so I feel like they're kind of becoming limited with the amount of moves that they're going to be able to accomplish. And I know that these guys aren't the Avengers, but with the Avengers you can have Captain throws his shield, and that's him alone. But then when he's working with, Iron Man, he can like deflect the beam, or Thor can hit his shield with the hammer, and you can do all of these blending of powers, and they can use their powers together. I don't really know how they're going to be able to do that with these monsters, because that would be interesting. Like to really up the fights and make them more interesting, you got to have like I don't know, Godzilla throw King Kong, and then King Kong like beats the other monster as he's you know what I mean, flying over there or something. They need
Yeah.
to start really teaming up and using their powers together.
Well, I think that's the next thing.
That's the next phase.
I would love for them. I don't know. There has to be some kind of threat from outer space. I don't know if there's any more monsters left on Earth or from there's stuff in
They'll
Middle
just
Earth. I
invent
mean,
that
there's
their
stuff in the
own.
Hollow Earth, but you don't know.
Yeah,
Are they
they'll
all
just say
defeated?
that.
Because
They'll,
isn't the
they'll
whole point
just
of this movie is that there's nothing left but Godzilla and Kong?
Well, Godzilla's like master of Earth at this point. He's king of Earth, and then King Kong is Kong is like king of Hollow Earth. But you know that they're just gonna invent some sort of bullshitted thing. Like there was a cave with like an ancient thing that was living in there that just awoke. But what's the next thing? Like,
I would like for something like I think, given the the sci-fi fantasy like
oh, they need to
progression
go
of
out
these
into
films,
space now.
they're gonna do a space thing or something from outer space, and
Yeah.
Kong is summoned back up or to Earth or whatever, and Godzilla's there, and two of them meet up, and like as soon as they meet, it's like, oh my god, are they gonna fight? Are they gonna fight? And it's like, no, fist bump. Let's do this. And then Godzilla
An
says,
actual fist bump in the movie.
the camera spins around them, and Godzilla says, "This shit just got real." And then
In
they
sign
attack.
language.
No, they actually talk in this one, like Tom.
They
like
talk
like
now?
the 1990s Tom and Jerry movie.
You can
No, no,
talk?
Yeah, I got a funny voice. I'm voiced by Richard Kind.
Um,
Anyway,
you could be right. Because, like, if you're doing fully CG environments anyway, like, then you're not filming anything anymore. And if you don't, like, all you need to do is build one spaceship set, all right? Put all your characters in that. And then you can just film everything in that spaceship set. CG that shit in space. And then have Godzilla and Kong. And hopefully Mothra's not dead, because Mothra was nice. Mothra was a good guy. And they can all go out and fight. Like, can they live in space, though? I'm assuming. Whatever. And they can go out and fight.
No, I don't mean they'll fight them in space.
Oh, they should. You want just an alien to come to Earth.
I mean, they would die.
No, they should fight them on another planet. They take them
No, I'm
to
talking
another
about the
planet.
alien comes down and is like,
No,
we'll take
no.
over. And it's like, maybe it's little aliens, like human sized people. And they like actually bring kaiju or mechanical titans of their own, like to like,
You know what it'll be?
You
It'll
can
be
take
a
all kinds of
portal.
things from the old movies too, 'cause that involves space stuff too.
It'll always be a portal. There'll be a big portal in the sky, and big ass kaiju will come through a portal in the sky, and they will come from like another
Like
dimension.
the opposite of Pacific Rim, where they
Oh,
come from the
mirror!
ocean.
It's Mirror Godzilla and Mirror Kong. All right.
Pacific Rim and Godzilla versus Kong crossover. Evil. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to see any
Ultraman.
more
Somebody
Pacific
said
Rim
Ultraman
movies.
could be in the next movie.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I don't care for Ultraman. I'm just saying it might be cool.
Well, to be honest, I don't care for Godzilla either. I'm not a fan. I'm not one of those hyper fans of like the Godzilla or the MonsterVerse lore. It's just like watch these because they're entertaining enough. You know what I mean? They pass the time.
The original is kind of cool. I remember watching a lot of those, and they all blend together. Like, I just remember like a lot of crazy, weird shit, and just dudes in suits crushing cardboard buildings, and some of it gets really, really like some of it is better than others. Like some movies are like, wow, they actually put a little more pyrotechnics, or the models are a little finer. You know what I mean? Stuff like that, or like sometimes they do water effects or fire effects. And the quality of those is based on how big the models are, because if you're doing water effects or fire effects, you want the miniature to be like a 1/3 scale as opposed to like a 1/10 scale or some shit. I don't know. But yeah,
I'm looking up these.
wouldn't it be cool if they went back to old school like costumes and stuff? The Japanese films I think still do that. I think they only did the most recent.
There's one that came out.
or two.
There's a Shin Godzilla that came out, isn't it, recently? But that was CG.
Yeah, I think they're doing recently. They're doing like CG stuff, but up until the 2000s, they still had that guy in the suit, in the rubber suit, and those toy buildings getting crushed, and just reaction shots of people. That's a lot of these movies are just people looking and like, oh no,
Well,
my city, my
yeah,
family,
my house,
my house.
my 40-story high building. Oh no.
Oh, half of my country.
Yeah,
Oh,
my entire
Jesus.
city, fucking hell. But okay, they need to find more protagonist monsters because like they've got all these evil monsters that they keep fighting. But if they eventually want to like assemble some sort of team, or maybe that's not the plan at all. Maybe in the next movie, King Kong and
I
Godzilla
think they
will
shouldn't
fight again.
overdo it
But
with like 3 or 4 good guys. I think they should
there's
just
too many good
King
guys.
Kong, maybe Mothra, face an army or a couple of
Yeah, okay. So you've
big
got
things.
Godzilla that's king of the earth. You got Kong that's king of the Hollow Earth, and then Mothra's just there like Mothra's not tech support, but like Mothra's the healer. You know what I mean? Come in and heal you for a bit if you're feeling down. Although King Kong like smashes his arm against the building and fixes his dislocated shoulder in this one, so he
That
don't
was
need no
cool. I
doctors.
like that.
You like that?
Yeah. Kong has some personality, dude. Like you really get a
Yeah.
sense for the scene where they drop him off in the Arctic. I know it gets all silly with the going through the portal and the ships, but it's nice to look at. I mean, I wasn't like pissed off at it. I just recognized it as absurd and silly, and like how's the sunlight and like how does this gravity thing work? Oh well, I guess I just shouldn't think about it and just enjoy the visuals because I like Kong so much. I really like Kong in his movie, and the fact that he gets to the Arctic, and you can see him kind of shiver, and you can see him ponder, what is he doing here, and where is he going to go? Because he looks up that long path, and he has another little shudder, and then he has that little groan, and it's like they're doing these little subtle things with the acting, and I don't know if somebody's doing like an Andy Serkis type mocap. I don't know
I don't
anything
think they
about.
did. I think they just CG'd the whole thing.
I don't know how they did it. I think there might be some mocap or something. Maybe I don't know. I have no idea. But the way way he emotes is believable. And when the little girl is like, when she tells him that your family could be down there, once he like gets that idea in his head, he's like, oh really? Poof, gone. And I like that kind of.
It's
Really,
so mean to tell him that though. But then it turns out they were technically right because what? So Kong wasn't from Skull Island. Then, from what I'm assuming, Kong and his people were originally from Hollow Earth. But something happened to Hollow Earth, like maybe Godzilla went there and fucked it up or something, and all of Kong's family died. And so Kong was. I feel like maybe Kong's mother put him on like Skull Island before she died or something. You know what I mean? And so he
yeah,
grew up all alone
yeah,
on this
could be.
completely hidden island or something. I don't know. It's
They
weird,
could do
but
a
now there's a whole mythology. Now there's a whole thing about Kong and his ape species, where they literally were building thrones. They have
They
a
were
throne
advanced.
room.
It's like
They had
it's
like
like
axes and shit.
I know. Yeah.
So in the next Kong movie, first of all, is he going to be even bigger because he seems to be like eternally growing, or has he reached like maximum size now? Also, is he going to just eventually become smarter and smarter? Like, could we see a Hulk-ish Kong in the next film where he's got
He's the
armor?
same size as he was in
No,
in
no, no,
Skull Island,
no,
I believe.
no. He's way bigger.
Way bigger.
They even say that in Kong Skull Island.
Oh,
He's young and he hasn't finished growing yet.
okay, so he's a bit
Yeah.
bigger. Yeah.
Well, that was one of my primary concerns when they announced both movies. I was like, but Kong is like half the size of Godzilla, or maybe like a third.
And he is a little bit. He still is a little bit smaller than Godzilla in this movie, but yeah, he looking at it now, yeah, he is bigger, a little bit bigger.
Yeah, no, he
Not a
he,
whole lot though, because
maybe he's
the way he smashes those helicopters and like the size of him in that scene, and I'm comparing that to when he grabs the evil daughter of
no.
the
Well, when
dude.
he's holding Brie Larson is pretty much like, I don't know how big is Brie Larson in his hand. Brie Larson is this, right? This is okay. Uhura is Brie Larson today, but this is how big she is, right, in his hand.
Okay,
But then when you get to this movie, like the humans
She
are
would
way
be,
smaller
like,
than that.
this small.
Yeah, they become
This
maybe
small.
this. Yeah, like
Yeah.
yeah. I think. I don't think they care too much about like the proportions. Um, I don't know. They must have like tech that makes sure that they keep like these monsters to proportion in one film. So from beginning to end of one film, they're the same size. But yeah. Anyway, I want to see him with like because he can wield an axe clearly, and they were kind of advanced technologically. Even if it's like a sci-fi aspect to it, I want to see him in armor and everything in the next one. He has to like get some sort of upgrade.
It can only get sillier from here.
It can only get more stupid. Like they've gone full stupid now. Never go full retard.
I don't know about it. It's something about there's something endearing about embracing the absurdity of that sci-fi fantasy element, like I talked about, where it's like, let's just. It's not a thing where they're throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks, but they're just going with, like, let's do a Hollow Earth thing and Kong's fan. Like they do this. Let's build a mythology, and they're expanding on it because you look at the original Godzilla, they kind of have the vibe that Godzilla was created from like radiation because they do those scenes of mushroom clouds and all this stuff. And it's
Yeah.
they moved away from that, and now
You get the impression that Bryan Cranston is blaming the like radioactive
facility.
industry for like being responsible for the creation of this thing.
And now we're understanding that the mythology that they're building is more centered around. It's much more broader and much more fantastical. And
Yeah.
how it does. It's okay because it's it's a big lizard and a big ape. It's okay. I didn't mind, and I've heard other people say that the human characters are more tolerable in this movie than the other movies, and I think the reason is editing and pacing because they don't linger on stuff too long.
No, you know why also? It's because they don't cut to them. When you're watching a Godzilla King Kong fight, you only get very few reactions of characters, and it's mainly when something like when King Kong will throw something near a character, it explodes, then you'll kind of see the impact of that. But
Yeah,
in the other films, it's like you always cutting to like I gotta find my father. It's like we don't care. Like we've come to sit down and watch Godzilla destroy a city, right? Like it doesn't matter what's happening to you. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think that's mainly why but I mean the characters have no arcs in this film. Like no one has an arc. King Kong has an arc, I think.
It seems all that Millie Bobby Brown, the conspiracy theory guy, and the friend, all that they were there for was to pour water on a machine. That's the only reason.
Coffee, isn't it coffee or is it water?
Coffee, water, whatever. They pour liquid on the thing. And
What's my purpose?
People always say they could have been, you could have taken them out of the movie, and it would have been okay. But you just would have had a shorter movie. That's all. I mean, the Rebecca Hall.
Well,
stuff
you could have
kid
taken
and the evil dude with the Mecha Godzilla and the dude who's sent to Hollow.
you got to keep that.
You keep all that because that's kind of necessary. But yeah.
Oh, it's a whiskey. In the chat, they're telling us it's a whiskey that they poured over the.
Oh yes,
control panel.
whiskey from the dead wife's whiskey thing. Yeah. Yeah, his dead wife's whiskey.
His dead wife's whiskey. Ruben's saying Hollywood says arc. What the fuck is an arc? Yeah, they don't know that. They don't know. Well, I mean,
an arc is the two things that are in front of McDonald's. And those are arches, golden arches.
I would argue though that like, this isn't a traditional Hollywood film though. Like this, I feel like King of the Monsters was more of a traditional Hollywood, attempt than this thing. This thing is kind of like, let's just, you know what I mean? Like they're giving up on their own tropes.
This feels more like a Toho movie than the previous films did. It feels
they're
like
kind of giving up on
Japanese monster flick. Like it's one of these things where you understand the absurdity of it. You know the human characters are not interesting, and they're just devices to get the monsters together. But there's enough of that ooey goodness with the fighting and even the journey to Hollow Earth. It's really nice to look at, and it's kind of cool to see Kong floating around and like realizing stuff. And I like the fact that Kong is smart and he seems to figure stuff out fairly quickly. Like,
yes,
that didn't bother me. I can see how some people be like, "Why is he so smart?" I'm like, "He's an ape." I'm like, "Well, actually, given his backstory now,
he's not just an ape too. He's like the ape.
He's like the ape, and the fact that his ancestors and his family were intelligent creatures. Clearly, they're building axes and thrones and shit. So,
Yeah, he's actually a moron compared to his species.
and Ruben is right. It's all just destruction porn, and it's like, and the whole point of this movie is how good can you do it? How many money shots can you give us? And there's plenty. There's enough in here to satisfy like a moviegoer who just wants to see the balls to the wall action. Some people could complain that there are not enough fights between Godzilla and Kong, because really there were only two, right? There's
I
the
mean,
water and the Hong Kong
yeah.
stuff. And then
Doesn't,
you
doesn't
get
the
into
second
the
one last like
Mechagodzilla.
40 minutes though?
The last segment of the film goes on, and you're right, it's very good because they don't keep cutting away stupid human characters, and when they do, like it's necessary for the plot. For example, when Skarsgård has, I don't know his character's name, Skarsgård has to restart Kong's
None of these
heart.
characters have names.
Yeah, he has to restart his heart and blow up the thing, right? Seems like he only has seconds to run out of the thing, by the way. But somehow he's off Kong, this huge fucking beast thing, and running like many, many feet away from him before the explosion goes off. And like they just cut like 2 or 3 minutes out of that where he's climbing down on the fur, and like it's gonna take him a few minutes to get off that thing, right? But anyway,
See, they had these kind of problems in the most recent live-action Mulan film. The most recent live-action Mulan film had like problems where one character should clearly not be able to go this fast or what have you, and it's like it doesn't work in a movie where it's just a person shooting an arrow at another person. That you have to kind of respect distances and
it's a fantasy, but that is a fantasy film as well. They have people like literally running up walls and stuff, which is like okay, well,
yeah,
how
but
does that work?
still, like if you shoot if like someone fires an arrow, anyway, like there's
Yeah, no,
certain perspectives and
I know what you
distancing
mean.
that you have to respect because the scale is so small. When you're talking about like King Kong and Godzilla, who gives a shit? Because at the end of the day, it's so stupid a concept. Anyway, I think we've. Have you got anything else to say?
It's stupid in the best way. It's fun and it's an entertaining film. I think it's the best out of the four.
Really, I think Kong Skull Island is the best of the four.
I think that's the second
But
best one. But yeah, the Godzilla ones are they're just too overly serious. Like the first the Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's like I like the fact that this one doesn't take itself too seriously.
This is the first one where you can really use that argument because, like, the way you would justify having someone watch the other Godzilla movies is like, oh, just don't take it too seriously. But then the movie is taking itself seriously. Yeah. This is the first one where you can really say, like, it's a big joke. Even the people that made it, they know it's a big joke and they don't care. They just smash things. So don't take it too seriously. Watch it. And, I mean, if you turn your brain off and watch big buildings get destroyed, it's destruction porn.
My brain was never on in the first place going into I tend to just absorb things. I'm not very disappointed in a lot of
I have to flick my brain off very quickly.
A lot of what's come out in 2021 or
what has come out in 2021? Oh, well, there's the Snyder Cut. What else came out in 2021?
Why am I drawing?
I haven't seen anything.
There's been stuff.
Really?
Maybe I'm just looking forward to think. Oh yeah, Mortal Kombat. I want to see that. That's gonna be good. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be good, but it looks good.
Oh, there's Coming to America 2.
Coming to America 2, yes, I like that. Even though people are like, it's not as good as this first one. I'm like, I didn't expect it to be as good as the first one, so
yeah, I think I liked it more than most people. Most people shit on that a lot. These are the 3 movies that came out in 2021 that I've seen: Snyder Cut, Coming to America, and Kong Godzilla.
The Little Things wasn't good with Jared Leto and Denzel Washington. Jared Leto was good in the movie, but
okay,
it wasn't a good movie. But that was the only thing I think. Oh yeah, Promising Young Woman. I don't know if that's a 2021 movie, but that's a very good movie. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, Promising Young Woman.
No. Oh yes, I have. They talked about it on the Red Letter Media.
Yeah.
It's a girl that she's seeking revenge on someone that people like kids that college kids.
Is no, that but it?
She was abused.
She gets
in
into
college
situations where she acts really drunk at a bar to get a guy to go home with her, and she tests him to see if he'll basically
If he'll
molest
abuse
or date
her.
rape her.
Or
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
and if it starts going that way, she sobers up and frightens the guy and says, I've been sober the whole time. I'm testing you and blah blah blah." But I like the way how the movie treats what she's doing as something that's wrong, which I don't think many people understand. They think it's like, oh, this is like a revenge fantasy movie. It's really not.
Mm,
It's about a sick, traumatized woman who at first it doesn't seem to be too harmful what she's doing, but then it gets progressively more messed up
mm.
to a point where you're like, oh, I could see how this went. But I gotta say, it has a fantastic goddamn ending. It's a really satisfying ending in that movie. It's a shocking ending, but it's damn satisfying. You gotta watch it.
Okay, okay,
Honestly,
I'll
that's
look into
probably the
that.
best. That's probably the best movie I've seen in 2021.
Okay, I'll look into that.
By the way, they're starting to film Better Call Saul now.
Oh yes, Better Call Saul. Anyway,
Yeah.
Boosebox is looking forward to any Star Trek discussions you guys will do this week. And this was more fun than I thought it would be. Nice to see PJ and Toddy together. Okay, cool. Well, I'm happy that we surprised you in a good way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Black Widow. Yeah.
I don't know if you're planning on doing any Star Trek discussions on all of the big announcements that were made.
Probably. Yeah. Eventually.
I don't know if I'm going to do something on my channel. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know yet.
Earl Grey Shrek has a good point there. Black
What's
Widow.
that?
Have you seen the new trailer for Black Widow?
I'm not watching. I'm not. I saw those initial trailers, but I'm not watching any of the new trailers. I know that
watched
maybe
30 seconds of it, and then I was like, nope. I
don't want to know
because I know they're showing more stuff than the other trailer. I'm like, no, they're showing too many new things. Mortal Kombat, Shang-Chi, the guy from
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is probably the film I'm the most excited for
the guy
because
from Kim's Convenience is in it.
I want to see the Mandarin, the real Mandarin.
By the way, Kim's Convenience series finale airs tonight.
Yeah, I haven't seen season 5 yet, but I'll watch it when it comes out on Netflix.
It's a good. It's one of these shows where every single season is just as consistently good as the last. Like it's.
Oh, I
it doesn't-
disagree.
It doesn't. I don't find it wavers in quality at all. I think like, I remember when I binged the first 4 seasons, I just like kept watching it every day and just
I would
enjoyed,
agree,
like, everything
except
about
for
it.
season 1. I think season 1 is the best, and then they fall into it. They
Oh really?
drop down a bit in season 2, and that's the groove that they find. So, like, all of the seasons are good, but I think that season 1 is better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, season 1's really good still. Yeah.
Because they fall into anyway. This is unrelated. Stop. You need to rate.
We're done with the movie now.
We're done with the movie, but we need to. Okay, wait. I'm gonna share my screen. Share screen so that you can. There you go. Boom. You need to rate it on the absolute bullshit to true greatness scale. So where are we going? Where's Godzilla versus Kong going?
Good. It's good.
Oh, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it does exactly what it sets out to do, and it succeeds in that. It succeeded for me. I was entertained throughout the whole thing, and out of all the 4 movies, it is the one that when it's over, like I still want it more. You know what I mean? Like when a movie leaves you wanting more, in a good way, like where it's like, man, you gave me so much good shit in that last 40 minutes. I wanted it to go on for at least another 10 minutes, but I was like, I was cool. It could have been great if somehow they made the,
Oh wow.
no, it could have been. It could have been if the human characters were like somehow compelling or some shit, but obviously that's never gonna happen.
I mean, that's a difficult feat to pull off, isn't it? I'm gonna frustrate you. I'm gonna have to put this at like above average. I think.
No, that's fine. That's good.
It's not.
So
it's,
the average is all right. There you go.
There you go. The average is all right. It's an all right. It's an all right movie. That's what the average comes down to.
That works.
Yeah, I would have. I expect. I don't expect more from the human characters, but I expect more from the. I suppose the fights or like more from the action.
I
You know
got
what I
more.
mean?
I got more than. Like the fights were much better than I thought they were gonna be because I did see some of the ads for it and stuff. They showed some of it. But I didn't expect them to go on for as long as they did, and the fact that I was like, oh, it's still happening. Oh, it's still happening. Oh, there's more. Oh, it's still going on. I was so conditioned to think of the cutaways. You know, I was like, well, they're gonna cut away from this shit any second now because it's getting good, and that's the whole thing about these movies. Once you start seeing some good stuff, they're like, yeah, let's not do that anymore. Let's cut away, or let's put some fog and rain in front of it so you can't really see what's going on. But this one, it's like clear, everything's well lit. Yes, the director of this movie is somehow obsessed with neon because
Yeah.
like, this is like a very neon.
It was like just go full Tron.
It should have been called Godzilla vs Kong Neon Dream.
Yeah, they should have called it that. Oh my god.
But yeah, it's
Godzilla versus Kong versus Neon. Yeah. I love it. All right. What do we got? We got like an average that was upgraded to all right. We've got an all right, and then a good. It's all on the higher end of the spectrum here. It's good. It's good that it's on the higher end of the spectrum. It means hopefully we will get another MonsterVerse movie, and it does feel like the people behind the MonsterVerse films. I don't know if they have like a specific creative team here, but it does feel like they kind of listen to what the fans or what the audience is saying.
Yeah.
Because considering we couldn't see shit in the previous one, they fixed all that up. They cleaned it up, and they made the fights much more cleaner in this one. So yeah.
I think this director should go on to make the next one because I think he's a good visual conceptualist.
Yes, I agree. You don't I'll take it as a word. You don't necessarily need someone that can write or like bring to the screen the best stories for these kind of movies. I think you need someone that simply understands like the aesthetic and the visual of what the film needs to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Zack Snyder could probably do a pretty good monster movie.
Well, I can't wait to see a zombie movie coming out on Netflix.
I too am excited about that.
And you know what? If the fans want to support him, they should stop bombarding other properties and stuff because they were Godzilla vs Kong. This is related to the movie, by the way, the whole Zack Snyder thing.
Okay.
They bombarded the reviews on IMDb, I think it was, with Restore the Snyderverse and all this, and also the trailer. And I saw another thing from WB, some kind of trailer thing, and it's like Restore Snyderverse. If you want to support Zack Snyder, watch his movie on Netflix. Support what he's doing, as opposed to what he's not doing. That's what I don't understand. If you're such a fan, don't constantly harass and bitch. And I get it. That's a small portion of. There's a lot of people who want Snyderverse, who are good people, who are civil, and who do good things in life. But there are just some little tiny sections who bombard certain things. It's like the internet. It's like they get together in a group and say, let's hashtag this thing to death to overtake it. And sometimes that really works in the fact that Twitter hashtags get like hijacked. Bad hashtags get hijacked by like K-pop fans. That's kind of cute.
What was it? Was it Pride Boys?
Something like that. Yeah, Proud Boys or something like. They hijack it and do all like every time you look it up, it's just K-pop stuff. That's kind of cute, but if you're a fan of Snyder, just support what he's actually doing as opposed to what he's not doing. You're very right.
Blue Spark is defending you, and he's saying that I can't make excuses like that. I agree. I can't make excuses. It's the internet. People are shitty. That's not an excuse. Be better people, even on the internet. It's not because you're hidden behind a screen that you have to be an asshole.
Or as Melania Trump says, be best.
Okay, well, you heard it.
That's what she says. Be best.
Be best.
It's like somebody couldn't tell you.
Be best at being best. Don't be best at being worst.
Yeah,
that's it.
Like,
that's what's
nobody
important.
cares what you have to say, Melania Trump. You're married to Satan.
Ruben. Okay, we'll finish off on this. Ruben. Ruben says Zack Snyder is basically Michael Bay, except he took a few art classes. Michael Bay does do some artful movies sometimes.
Michael Bay is much better at photorealistic CGI than Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder almost purposely makes his things look.
No, he embraces like the comic book aspect of it, right?
Yeah, he does things in kind of, yeah. It's a more surreal look he has to his films
Mm.
in order to copy an aesthetic that's like in his
Which I'm
mind that
fine
comes from a,
with.
which is cool, like 300 and like
I
Watchmen and all that
wonder
stuff
if
have that style.
Army of the Dead is going to look more like Dawn of the Dead, or if it's going to do exactly what you're saying, go in that direction. We'll see.
Have you
Anyway,
said? Well, it looks like Army. It looks
more like
doesn't
Dawn
look.
of the
It
Dead.
doesn't look like Dawn of the Dead, but yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's not related to that. But
No, it's not.
no.
Apparently. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Hit the like button if you liked our conversation. A big thank you all for joining us and for being in the chat. I wasn't expecting to have so many people. I was expecting to have no one.
It looks like I have hair, like
Almost, yeah.
weird like afro or something.
Thank you for coming on, PJ. It's always
No problem.
good fun. And yeah, King Kong and Godzilla forever. Let them live on. All right. See ya.